Welcome back to demo day 3 of my 1982 Chevy RV. I'm Ashley. If you're new here, I'm renovating this RV so that I can travel around the US creating my artwork with my dog Barley. Come along for the adventure. So welcome back to the demo of the RV. This is going to be a combination of a lot of different days rolled into one video. I am disassembling what was left of the cabinetry and pretty much all of the contents that are in the RV. So all of the plumbing, the paneling, all of the HVAC and wires. I wish I had better kept track of how many hours and days exactly that it took me to do the demo, but unfortunately I was just trying to get it done and focus on that. I know that it took a lot longer than I had expected originally. I don't really have a dump that's nearby, and I don't want to pay a bunch of money for a dumpster or something from the stuff I'm demoing, so my neighbor offered to let me put some of it in his trash. So each Friday I'm just gonna cut a little bit up and put some in my trash and his. It's really nice when people are helpful. That's all. Remember that. There are helpful people. Little reminder there to myself and anybody else who needs it to appreciate the people in your life who do big or small things for you. Removing the insulation from the walls wasn't very time consuming. It wasn't the most fun because of the fiberglass in the middle of summer, but it came off fairly easily on the walls. It wasn't until I got to the ceiling that I had some more of an issue than I had anticipated. So, kind of a mess in here right now. Got the other front seat out, and this is the bottom of the seat, but it's like bolted on underneath of the carriage. So I'm going to have to get under there and maybe grind it off. These are super gross, even though they're comfy, so they're not savable. I'm going to leave this one in so that I can still drive around. So yeah, that's where we're at for now. I'm going to try to get the carpeting pulled off of the floor, get the rest of this cleaned up, and get the rest of the insulation off. Still have to pull off the paneling from up here, and then after sealing up there, after finishing up the demo, I am going to be, sealing up the roof. I've got spots like this is gonna come out, so I need to put some new metal sheeting down. There's holes where the plumbing came out of, some things that are gonna get closed up that I'm not gonna utilize. I don't need the gray water. You can't even see it. It's under there. Or the black water tank anymore because I'm gonna try to do an incinerator toilet. They're super expensive, but worth it, I think, in the long run. So I will have to hook up plumbing for the fresh water and gray water for dishes and showering and stuff like that. So yeah, we are still demoing, but it's a beautiful day, so let's get started. So I had originally started this thinking I was going to film multiple demo videos separately, but that would just take way too long. So I thought I'd throw it all in one for you guys. I am using the oscillating saw right now to finish removing the rest of the Luan ceiling panels because they were just tucked underneath of the framing. So I had to cut them out, with the oscillating saw, as you can see here. For anybody else that might be also doing a RV renovation, this is definitely a good tool to have on hand. Just make sure that you purchase a fresh blade before starting, because I feel like I used a dull blade for half of it and made it harder on myself than I needed to. There were also a ton of screws and nails sticking out from the original manufacturing of the RV. So it was a lot more than I expected, the demo. I really thought that it would only take me a few days, but it was tedious and there were a lot of little things that had to be addressed that I didn't even think of. This area was awful. I feel like I was putting it off because it was just a huge conglomerate of nastiness, basically. Everything was bolted down with rusty, stripped out screws, and all of the carpeting at the edges had mouse poop, and it was just really disgusting. It is kind of cool to be able to see the original carpeting because it was clean in the areas that were underneath the countertop, and you can see the fresh carpet since it was covered in the plastic. But yeah, this whole area was not fun. Lots of cutting around things, and I wasn't sure at this point if I was going to leave the electrical or not. So I was trying to be careful to not cut the wires. And for some reason, there were a ton of wires in this thing. So right now I'm removing the old battery box and the electrical panel area, so basically the whole power station previously. And I wish I had known what future me knows that I'm not going to be keeping those wires, so I wouldn't have had to work around them, but that's all right. Live and learn. So I was really trying to finish this demo because I was sick of having to wash all of the fiberglass insulation off of me every time I was working, and also wearing the respirator in the heat of the summer. So I was getting frustrated at this point. I just wanted the demo to be over since this was not the fun part of it, but it will be over soon enough, and I'm glad that this is something that I could accomplish on my own. So again, this is where the oscillating saw comes in handy because I purchased this carpet cutter and I also used a box cutter and neither were working. So oscillating saw, definitely something good to have on you. Here's a little close-up look at the fabulous, not so fabulous, wallpaper from before. Not horrible. It's gonna be way better though. If you are remodeling an RV, I definitely recommend wearing long sleeves. I wish I could have the entire time. I mean, not just for the demo, but working with the insulation was such a pain in the butt. So if it weren't for being summer, I would have been in long sleeves the entire time. But I am up here removing the paneling. A lot of the screws in places like this are stripped out or rusty, so it was kind of a pain to get them out. And removing any kind of work up here in this area was not the most fun since I couldn't get on top of the over the cab area since the wood is rotted on the right side. It made it really difficult to get in there and get at what I needed to. So what I had said earlier about the insulation being a pain on the ceiling, the way that they laid the battens of insulation, they laid the framing, laid the insulation over it, and then the ceiling on top at the manufacturer. So it's really interesting the way that they put these together at the warehouse. Obviously with the intention of people not taking it back apart again, because it was such a pain getting the insulation down from the ceiling, since it was all tucked underneath of the framing. So little bits of it are still probably tucked up under there under the framing. I had to get in with a box cutter and cut around each rectangle basically to pull them out. So that is something to keep in mind. You're not just going to be able to rip it out if you do this. But as you can see, it is like a house with the framing and everything being similar to a house build anyways. But when you really look at it like this, there's not that much to it. You can see that it's kind of flimsy without its contents holding it together, like the cabinetry and things like that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind and good to know for situations like this when you're going to be living in it and you maybe want to hang shelving or something on the wall. You don't have, first of all, you want to know where your studs are going to be. So it's good to mark those out for when you're not going to be able to see them later. And also to know you're not, it's not that stable for shelving and things like that. They're not even 2x4s that they put up there. So anything that you can do to make it more stable, which I plan on doing down the road, is going to be a benefit to you in the future. So I am just finishing up the last of the insulation and paneling at this point. This last board wanted to be a pain, and as you can see, I should have been wearing safety goggles at this point. It is just a pain when your goggles are fogging up from your respirator. So pick your battles. But yeah, I finally got this piece out and we are almost in the home stretch with the insulation. You can tell that I am not having fun with all of that and was just ready to move on to the next portion of the build at this point.
Okay, last time messing with the pink insulation. Last little bit of demo.
So here you can see how rotted the wood is around the right side of the window framing in the cab area. But this is what it looks like. All of the insulation is out of it and the paneling is off of it. Yay! So exciting, so satisfying.
Little bit off and clean it up. And we will be ready to start on the outside. I am going to bring it over to my neighbor's house either tonight or in the morning. He's going to help me to get the seats out, get the old propane tank off, hopefully get the black water tank because it's disgusting and it has a pile of shit in it from the last owner, literally. That's going to be fun. But I'm really excited and super grateful for his help. It's nice to be supported. It's nice to help people. It goes a long way. It really does. So thank you, Matt, if you're watching. I appreciate you.
And I appreciate all of you who are watching. Stay tuned for the next video where we do some more demo, a little bit on the outside and on the inside. Thanks for watching.